Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, a subscriber asked me to make a pig. Let me zoom out a bit. So, this is the cute little guy that I've done. Now his arms are just sewn on. I sewed them on so that they still moved. So, and this little strap here is crooked. So I made him a cute little pair of overalls with just one strap. The button's at the back just because I didn't want it at the front, but if you want it at the front, we can certainly arrange that. And his cute little tail. So, these legs are also just sewn on. They're not crocheted on, so everything is just sewn on. Beginner friendly, completely beginner friendly. Let's jump right into this. So the two colors I'm using, this is Bernat Pink. I roll mine into cakes. It just comes in a roll, 7-ounce roll, or a 5-ounce roll. I'm not sure. But this color is called Baby Pink. That's the color that I'm using. And then this here is a Craft Smart, and it's just a taupe. That's the color. And they're both just 4 weights. So I'm going to use a 4mm hook because we're going to be building this in amigurumi, which means whatever hook it calls for, we're going to kind of go down in size. So it's kind of a tighter stitch. So you will need a stitch marker because we don't slip stitch or chain 2 during amigurumi. So in chapter 1, this video will be in chapters for the reason I do chapters is just so you can get through it easier. So if you've decided to stop at a certain point, it's just an easier way to find where you stopped. We're starting with the taupe, or whatever color that you've chosen, to make the hooves. And we're going to start with a magic ring. So how I do them is I just hold it like this, and I wrap around these 2 fingers, come across my ring finger and kind of grab it with my pinky. And then I go under this guy and I grab a hold of him, and I'm going to pull him through and twist. Well, not twist, but kind of go over. Now I'm going to twist, and I'm going to pick up another piece and pull it through. So I've done a magic ring and a chain 1 all in one smooth motion. But if you struggle with this, you can just do a chain 2 and then put everything into your first stitch. It'll be the exact same thing. So we're going to put 6 single crochets in here. So again, amigurumi, so we're not slip stitching or chaining. We go right into this stitch, and we're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. But after our first stitch, that's when the stitch marker goes in. And then you can put the second stitch in that same space. And you're going to put 2 single crochets into each remaining stitch. So you're doubling it. So you're going to have 12 when you're done. Just make sure your middle is tight. Round 2 is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's 1 single crochet with your marker. So we jump right into your increase. So in the next stitch, you're going to put 2 single crochets. That'll be your increase. And then you're going to repeat that. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, all the way around for a total of 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's number 2. And then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So you're going to repeat this all the way around. 1, 1, 2. And at the end you should have 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be in the back loops only. So these guys right there. So you don't need to turn this over. They're already standing up, looking right at you. So you're going to go just into the back loops. Now I just use this finger to help kind of push it on. Makes life easy. Put your marker in. Just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches in the back loops only. So when you come back around, this is what it should look like. And my light's glaring off of it, so this is supposed to be flat. We just did our back loop, so it leaves this ridge around there. We're not going to be using it for anything, but it kind of brings it from flat to side. Do you know what I mean? So for the next 3 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these stitches, 24 of them. And you're going into the whole stitch, not the back loops anymore. Just the entire stitch for the next 3 rows. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what my 3 rows looks like. On my last stitch, I haven't finished my last stitch because I'm going to go to pink. So I'm going to finish that last stitch with pink. And I like to tie my straggler to my old color. That way I don't have to weave anything in. So just leave your hook in there so you know how tight to make your knot. If you're not familiar with tensions or anything. So you can cut off your brown. So now we start our pink. This is just my middle guy. I'm going to tuck him down in there. So we're going to start our pink. We will be turning this into a cloven hoof. I just want to do a few rows with the pink first. Then we can put stuffing in it before we turn it into a cloven hoof. So with your pink, you're going to do 2 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1. That's number 2. So now a decrease is going in, pulling up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. An invisible decrease, so that it kind of cuts down on how big the gapping is. Excuse me. I'm going to use the front loops only. These guys. Only the front loops. So, come up here. I'm going to go into my front loop. And then I'm going to kind of yoink around. Go into my second front loop. Then I'm going to yarn over. Pull through those. And then finish the stitch. So that's how I'm going to do my decrease. So that's an invisible decrease. So I'll show you again. Do 2 single crochets. And then front loop. Pop around to the next front loop. Then you yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. And then finish the stitch. So that's what I'm going to do all the way around. If you're not comfortable doing an invisible decrease, you don't need to do it. Or if you struggle, you can just do a regular decrease. Either way, 2 single crochet decrease is what you're going to do all the way around. It'll give you 18 stitches. So it's completely up to you what you do. Oops. So your sequence should end at your marker, which is your decrease. If not, you've done something wrong. You should have 18 stitches. So for the next 14 rows, we're just going to put 1 single crochet in those 18 stitches. But before we do that, let's turn this into a cloven hoof. So put some stuffing in there. It doesn't take much. Oh, it might be too much. Just make sure that the bottom stays flat. So you need that to stay flat. And then you're going to grab, I'm just kind of packing it down a bit so it doesn't stick up. So again, keep that, make sure that's flat. Let's grab a piece of your brown, your taupe, whatever you're using. I want you to go up through the magic ring and go up to the row just before the pink. So that row, sorry, I'm trying to get on camera. That row right there. So come up through that. Now don't pull this all the way through. Leave some hanging. Then we're going to come around and we're going to go back up the magic ring again and come back out that same hole that you were just in. So it's like the biggest whip stitch you've ever done. So you should have a nice piece of thread, and now you're going to pull. And then we're going to do it again. Because it doesn't technically stay the first time, it starts to work its way open. So we're going to do it again. Go back up through the magic ring and back up through this hole and pull again, and that's how we're going to do our hoof. So then this guy gets tied down here at the bottom in a tight double knot. Just like that. Stay on camera. And then these fellas, you can go back down through the magic ring if you want. Just pop out wherever you pop out. Instead of just cutting this off after we've done the knot, the reason why we weave it up to wherever is because it'll suck that knot down inside so that you should never know it's there. And then you can cut these off, and that is how we do our cloven hoof. Easy peasy. And that's what your bottom will look like. So back to this guy. You've got 18 stitches. Sorry, that was my laptop. You got 18 stitches. For the next 14 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches with your pink, and I will see you on the other side. So if you don't have one of these row counters yet, I would invest in one. So it's got a reset, an LED light, and then your count button is fairly big in the middle, and it just, every row you do, you just hit count. So they sell them at Walmart. I got this on Amazon actually, and Hobby Lobby kind of sometimes when you do big online orders, they'll send you some too. So I use a row counter to keep track. Anyway, for the next 14 rows, just do 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. This is my 14 rows. Let me get everything out of the way. This is my 14 rows. I was stuffing it as I went. So we're going to do 1 single crochet and a decrease. So right now you should have 15 rows altogether, starting with where you did your color change. "15 rows. Counting on this side of, don't count on this side. So this round is 1 single crochet decrease. This will bring you down to 12 stitches. That's my 1 single crochet. And then I'm going to do invisible stitches in the front loops again. There we go. So your last round, and then you can fasten off, is just 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches. And now you can fasten off. You're going to need a sewing tail to sew it to the pig when it's done. And a whip stitch shut. So finish putting stuffing in there. So I finished stuffing it. We need to whip stitch this shut. So this here kind of has to be over here on the side. So I'm just going to move it. Move it over till it's on the side. And then you're just going to whip stitch this closed. So, we're going to jump right into making our arm next, and then our ear, and then at the end of chapter 1, this will be the end of chapter 1, I will put all the patterns up so you can make all your second pieces, and then the video will jump into chapter 2 from there. So let's get to our arm right away. Again, you're going to start with this taupe color. You're going to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets. You're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So after your first stitch, that's where the marker goes. And then in goes stitch number 2 in that same space. And then 2 single crochets in each stitch around, bringing you up to 12 stitches. So you can pull your middle closed. You're going to do 1 single crochet increase. So it starts out exactly the same way. We'll make the hoof exactly the same way as we did on our other one. So that's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. So you should have 18 stitches when you're done. We're going to do the back loops only again on this row. It's going to be 1 single crochet in each of those back loops for a total of 18. So for the next 3 rounds, you're going to go into the full entire stitch, and you're going to do 1 single crochet in each of those 18 stitches for the next 3 rounds. So just like the first hoof that we did. So I will see you on the other side. So that's my 3 rows, and again I'm going to switch to pink, so I'm just going to back out of this stitch here. So this is my last stitch. I'm going to finish with my pink. Tie my pink and my brown together. Again, I'm going to leave my hook in there so I know how much tension to use, how much tension to not use. And with my pink, we're going to do a 3 single crochet decrease. So you're not going to get all the way around with your sequence. You're going to have 3 extra stitches left. I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 3 stitches, and it'll be right here at the back. So that's number 1. That's number 2. And 3 single crochets, and then my decrease again, front loops, you should have 15 stitches when you're done this round. So again, 1, 2, and 3 single crochet and a decrease. I have 3 stitches left. I cannot get a decrease in, so I'm just going to go 1, 2, and 3 and leave it at that. So we're going to start our 14 rows, which means we need to turn this into a cloven hoof, just like before. So put some stuffing in this. a little wee man, little wee guy. And again, try to leave the bottom flat. So I'm just packing it. Get a little piece of brown. We're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to go up the magic ring hole, and you're going to pop out up here. Leave some hanging out. Always do this with your marker at the back. I always do everything with my marker at the back. Come back around, come back up through the same hole. And then you're gonna pull. Do it again. One more time. Come up through that hole. You're gonna pull again. That should be tight enough. Bring this guy back around to the bottom. That's where you're gonna make your tight double knot. Go back down through the magic ring and just pop out wherever. Oh my gosh, I can't seem to can't find a hole. So just pop out wherever. And same thing with this other guy. Back down through the magic ring. Pop out wherever. Now, give it a snug pull to pull that right down. I didn't cut that off very good. There we go. So, there's your cloven hoof hand, even though they're all feet. So that's why I made them all cloven hoofs, is because even though it's technically arms and legs, the way we make a doll, pigs still have 4 legs, so it's still a hoof. So, for the next 14 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 15 stitches. So a little bit skinnier than the legs, because we do want it to look like arms. But not overly skinnier. But you will notice, obviously, a difference. So for the next 14 rows, just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 15 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. I've just finished stuffing mine. Well, not finished, but stuffed mine to the top. So that's what you should have. That's 14 rows so far. 2 more rows, and then we can fasten off. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease, just like we did for the leg. And this will give you 10 stitches. So that's 1 single crochet with your marker, and then your decrease. So I'm doing my invisible. I'm stuck on something. Oops. Oh, I'm struggling to get Times 4 weight likes to split while you're in the middle of something. So your last round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 10 stitches. And then if you're not on the side, like we need to be on the side when you fasten off, then I would just do whatever couple of extra stitches. I'll show you in a second. So 10 single crochets. I'm going to add more yarn. I'm just going to do a quick knot. So that's my 10 stitches, but I need to be over here on the side to do my, oh sorry, I'm not even on camera. That's my 10 stitches right here, but I need to be over here on this side because this is my front. I need to be here on the side to do my whip stitch. So I'm just gonna crochet over there as opposed to sewing over there, and then I'll do my fasten off. Yeah, I think that's fine. 3 stitches, and then I'm going to fasten off into the next stitch with my sewing tail. So finish stuffing it. I just need a wee tiny bit. So once you're done that, we can whip stitch this closed. So that's our arm leg, our arm leg. So we can set that aside. So the last thing we have to do is the ear before we're done chapter 1. And then, like I said, I'm going to leave you with the other 2, like the second ones to do. So we're going to start the ear with a magic ring and 4 single crochets. Because we really want a nice point on the end of this. So it's going to be difficult because it's going to be so small. So I would suggest not pulling your magic ring completely tight, just because it makes it a little more awkward when you do that. So your first round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 4 stitches. So if you need to put the stitch marker in, it goes in right there, just to be able to find your stitches. I'm just going to go into my 4 stitches because I know where they are. But I know when you're just starting out, it can be difficult to find them. So, to be on the safe side, I would put your marker in. So now that it's in a difficult, what is this, right? Starting with 4 single crochets is never an easy thing to do. So we're going to flip that right side in. So you can use the end of your hook to kind of push it out a little bit. And while your hook is on here, we're going to now pull the right one, pull our magic ring closed. So now it's this wonky shape. That's okay. That gives us a nice point on the end of it. So you still only have 4 stitches. You're going to do 2 single crochets in each of those 4 stitches. So go into your first stitch, we're going to put a marker in there. So that'll seem like a long stitch, and it will be. All these stitches should actually feel like they're long stitches. So that's 8. Now that we've got it a little bit bigger, you can reshape it with the end of your hook. So I would cut this guy off a little bit because he's going to get super duper annoying if you don't. And it's okay to do that now. So nothing really is going to happen with that. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase. So we're only going up by 4 stitches every single round. That's 1 single crochet, and then your next one will get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 16 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2. And then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. This will bring you up to 20 stitches. Your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 20 stitches. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. And then the round after that is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So after this round and the next round, you should have 28 stitches. So I just completed 4 single crochet increase, and the next round was 5 single crochet increase. I have 28 stitches. For the next 2 rows, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 28 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what it should look like at this point. Those last 2 rows tightened everything up nicely. So we're going to start decreasing. So I want you to do a 5 single crochet decrease, and this will bring you down to 24 stitches. It's number 1. That's 5 single crochets, and then your decrease. Mine's going to be in the front loops again. You can do yours however you want, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochet decrease. This will bring you down to 20 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your decrease. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 16 stitches. It's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. Alrighty, for the next 2 rows, you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches. And that'll be it. You can fasten off. So this is what you should have. This is it. So you can fasten off. So you need a sewing tail. So this is what we're going to do to the end of the ear. So it actually gets sewn on after we've closed the end up. So once you have your ear whip stitch closed, I want you to squeeze it like that, and we're going to sew up this way. So I would go in and out just so you don't see the, like, don't whip stitch here, is what I mean. Go in and out from the same direction that you're going. I don't know what you call it. I don't know sewing, so I don't know if there's a name for how I'm sewing it. But sew up a bit so that your ear looks like that. So, and then of course you're going to have to come back down because we got to sew from the bottom. So it doesn't really matter if you sew that part because you're going to be using that to sew into anyway. So that's going to be your pig's ear. Just like that. So this will be the end of chapter 1, and I just want you to go and make the second parts of your arms. and your legs and your ears. And I'll put the pattern up on the screen for you to follow. And I will see you in chapter 2. All right, welcome back to chapter 2. We've got the arms and legs done, so now we just gotta start building the body. So this pig body is built from the head down because he doesn't really have a whole lot on his head, so we kind of want to make his head look pretty. So we're going to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets. I am still using a 4mm. The next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So after your first stitch goes in there, that's where the marker is going to go. If I can grab my marker. And then you can put your second stitch in there, and then the remaining, get 2 each for a total of 12. Next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 18 stitches. That's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets the increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space. I'm going to weave in my tail after pulling my magic ring closed, so repeat that all the way around. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 24 stitches. That's number 1, that's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1, does 3 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. This will bring it up to 30 stitches. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 36 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. So bring you up to 42 stitches. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets, so your next stitch gets the increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 6 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 48 stitches. That's number 1. That's 6 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So this is what you should have. This is about as big as we're going. So for the next 8 rows, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 48 stitches. So if you don't have one of these guys yet, this is a row counter. You can buy them at Walmart and Amazon and sometimes Hobby Lobby if you order online. Big orders. Sometimes they'll throw in one for free. So anyway, for the next 8 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 48 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what 8 rows looks like. So we're going to start decreasing now. So we're going to do a 6 single crochet decrease. That's number 1. That's 6 single crochet. So my decreases are going to be invisible. So I'm going to use the front loops only. So I'm going to pull up a front loop. I'm going to pop around and pull up the next front loop. Then I'm going to yarn over, pull through, and finish the stitch. So I'll show you that again. 6 single crochets. That's 6 single crochets. Front loop, pop around, pick up the next front loop, yarn over, pull through, finish the stitch. This will bring you down to 42 stitches. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease. And this will bring you down to 36 stitches. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets and then your decrease. So just so you know, you don't have to do the invisible decreases. You can just do regular decreases. So a regular decrease is just going into the stitch, pulling up a loop, go into the second stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. That's a decrease. That's like a regular decrease. The reason I use the front loops and I do it the way I do it, it's called invisible decreases because it literally, you can't see where I've done the decreases. It cuts down on the gapping, so there's not such huge gaps, and that's why I use it. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 30 stitches. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your decrease, whichever one you choose to use. This will be the last round before we put our eyes on. So after this round, we're going to put our eyes in and then we'll continue to decrease. So this one's going to be a 3 single crochet decrease. This will bring you down to 24 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. So this is what you should have. So turn this around and make sure that this is at the back. We're going to put our eyes in now. So we're going to put our, so I'm just using these little, I think they're 10mm eyes, but you can use whatever you want. So according to my notes, I put it between the 9th and 10th rows. So 9 and 10 is here. And then I said 7 visible stitches in between. So that's here. So make sure you can count 7. Oh, I can't. Here we go. So, you can put stuffing in this now, but I think we can put stuffing. We've got some ways to go. We've got like a number of rows to go before we have to do get to our neck and body area, but so I like to dig a hole and then fill the hole. So your next decrease round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. And this will bring you down to 18 stitches. That's going to be hard to hold. That's number 1. That's 2, and then my decrease. For the next 2 rows, you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So we're going to start increasing this now, so make sure you've got some decent stuffing in the head part. The 2 rows that we just did is going to be the neck. So it doesn't need to be as big as the head. I just want you to make sure it's enough in the head part. So we're going to start increasing again because those last 2 rows, like I said, were the neck area. So we're going to be nice and gradual with this. We're going to do a 1 single crochet increase. And this will bring you up to 27 stitches. That's 1 single crochet. And then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 27 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's number 2, and then the next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So this will bring it up to 36 stitches. So this is what you should have at this point. For the next 2 rows, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So that's my 2 rows. This is what you should have at this point. So we're going to do that again. We're going to do 2 single crochet increase again, and that'll bring us up to 48 stitches. That's 2 single crochets and then my increase. So for the next 3 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 48 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. I'm also going to show you how to add more yarn because that's all I got. How I add more yarn without tying a knot. So that's number 1. That's 5 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So this will take you up to 56 stitches. I'm going to show you right now how to add more yarn. So I'm going to go into the next stitch and I'm going to pull up, that's about as much as I got left. So I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to finish that stitch with my new cake, my new ball, and then I'm going to weave in the old yarn and the new yarn all at the same time while I do my 5 single crochet increase. So you should have 56 stitches. This is what it should look like. You should have 56 stitches. And for the next 10 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 56 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have after your 10 rows. We're going to start decreasing now. So I want you to do a 5 single crochet decrease. This will bring you down to 48 stitches. That's number 1. I'll bring it back down here. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets and then your decrease. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease. And you can probably start stuffing it after this. That's 4 single crochets with your markers number 1 and then your decrease. So pigs are pretty porky, so make sure he's pretty porky when you stuff him. Our next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 32 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. So your next round, let me come out just a little bit. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. And this will bring you down to 24 stitches. And then after that you can do a 1 single crochet decrease, which will bring you down to 8. Actually, we won't do that. That's 2 single crochets and then your decrease. Your second and last round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease for 18 stitches. And then after that, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 18 stitches So I'm going to put both of those up on my screen, and I'll meet you back to close this bad boy up. That's 1 single crochet, and then you jump right into your decrease. So I've done my 1 single crochet in the 18 stitches, and the reason why I do that is because when I cinch it from a decrease, you still get the gapping, but when I cinch it from just a round of single crochets, it just looks better. So go into your next stitch and you can fasten off. So you just need a cinching tail. We need to finish filling this. So we're sewing legs to the bottom of this guy, so just make sure he's nice and full down here at the bottom. So again, I just like to push my stuffing out and then fill the hole. Alright, I think mine's good. It's nice and round. So we're going to cinch by using the front loops. So I'm going to go in that front loop and I'm going to go out the next front loop. So just like that. In and out. And I also find when you cinch holes that are this big, it also looks better. Instead of trying to get as small as you can, I just feel like it's too much possibility for gapping. So I'm all the way around, I can't do any more, that's my fasten off spot. So I'm just going to pull. So I like to come across and put a knot, so I'm going to pop across, I'm going to come back around and go through this loop. And I give it a wiggle. I feel wiggling it tightens the knot better. And then I'm going to pop across in the other direction, so this is just securing that cinch. I'm going to pop across in the other direction, go through my loop, give it a wiggle, and then I can weave. So that's what it should look like on the bottom. So nice and neat. We're just sewing legs anyway. And he's going to have shorts on, but still. So I think we'll finish with making the snout because it's super fast. And then chapter 3 can just be sewing everything on and making the shorts. How about we do that? So we'll do the snout next. So you just need to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So after your first stitch, that's where the marker goes. Then you can put your second stitch in there. So 2 single crochets in each stitch around gives you 12 stitches. Oops. closer now. Oh, that wasn't very much closer. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase. So that's 1 single crochet. So your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. And this should give you 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be done in the back loops only. So these are your back loops. So you don't have to turn it over or anything to get into it. I use this finger to kind of push it on to my hook instead of trying to struggle to get into it. So you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of those back loops for 18 stitches. There we go. So this part should stay flat like a pig's nose, and now we're working on the side of the pig's nose. So we're going to increase, we're going to do 2 single crochet increase to bring you up to 24 stitches. You're going to be working into the full stitch on this round. That's number 1. That's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So this is what you should have. You can fasten off. So you're going to need a sewing tail. So a little bit of stuffing does go in here. You just need to make sure this stays flat when you're stuffing it, like when you sew it to the face. But we're not going to sew it to the face just quite yet. We'll leave that for when we sew everything else on. Let's make the mouth, and then that'll be the end of this chapter. So do a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Here, I'll show you what we're doing. You can decide whether you want to do this part. That's what we're doing, is this thing here. So it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. 6 single crochets. You're going to do 1 single crochet increase, because I wanted a bit of a point on the end of this guy. So that's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Now there's not a whole lot of room here. I think you do this 3 times. Yeah, you do. So this will give you 9 stitches. Just kind of wiggle it over a little bit. Make sure your magic ring is tight. You're going to do a 2 single crochet increase, giving you 12 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2. And then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And again, you'll do it 3 times. And your last round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches. So I'm just going to count. I'm not going to use my marker. So that's my 12th stitch. I'm going to fasten off. Again, you need a sewing tail. Touch your wee little mouth. So we whip stitch this closed and then it gets sewn on underneath the nose like that. So if you want to put stuffing in it, you can. I think I put stuffing in my last one, but it all depends on whether you want it to, like, I mean, literally that's a small, like, it's such a small space. I'm not going to waste my time doing it. Actually, I don't know if I did with my other one or not. It's such a small space, like, that's all it is. So whip stitch this shut. And then we'll sew that on underneath the nose when we're sewing everything on, and that is it. I think we've got everything built. So that's the end of chapter 2. I will see you in the next chapter. We're going to sew everything on. We're going to make his shorts, and then we'll be done this guy. Welcome back to the next chapter where we get to sew everything on. And then we're going to make the shorts, and then we'll be done. So we can start with the legs. Your legs are bigger than your arms. This is an arm, so it's 2 fat legs. I can't even thread my needle. I suck at sewing. Anyway. Wherever you determine you want your legs to be, you're going to have to just kind of sit him down, I suppose, and figure out where you want your legs. Other than that, it shouldn't really matter. So once I get that sewn on the front, I'd like to do a mattress stitch because I think that looks horrible. So I just grab, there's no written rule, just grab a bit of leg and grab a bit of the doll. And you're going to go back and forth and you're going to make what looks like shoelaces. Do you see these right here? So you're going to make some of those. you're done making them, you're just going to pull as hard as you can, and that'll bring that leg right up like that. And that's about it. And then you can just kind of weave in and out, back and forth. So your leg will come down for putting the shorts on, but it just looks a lot better. Like it looks like that instead of the other way. Anyway, get your second leg sewn on. Alrighty, so if you sewed your legs on right, he should sit up on his own. I did not sew my legs on right, so he's kind of leaning forward a little bit because my legs have got all screwed up, but I don't sew well, so. Now, these arms, I didn't really sew them on per se. I sewed them so that they're still movable. So, I took an arm, I came down here into the center. Oops, do what I just did. So pull your thing until it's in the center like that. Because you want your hoof to be kind of pointed out a little bit. And then I went back in, just right next door to where my lead is. And it popped through the first row below is next, second row area. And then I kind of leave that hanging. So do the same thing with the other guy. But every single end I have is all frayed. I don't know why. So if you want to do this with your other arm, you don't have to. So just kind of pop through till you're in the middle, like that. And you're going to do the exact same thing. And you're going to go down the same hole. So just go down the same hole and pop out. You don't need to pop out in the same hole on the other side. You just need to go into the arm on the other side. So it doesn't have to be the same hole. Because we're going to come back around and we're going to tighten that anyway. Make sure your arms are facing the right direction. You don't need to do this either. You can sew your arms on like normal arms. You don't need to do what I'm doing. I'm going to go back down, but just in the next stitch over. And I'm going to pop out into this arm on the other side. So if you want your arms movable, this is the only reason you have to listen to what I'm telling you right now. And you don't even have to listen to me, so. Anyway, pull your arms. Try not to pull them too much because you don't want them sticking out. I mean, mine are sticking out a lot. I'm going to go down and I'm going to pop out where my other one from my arm is. I'm going to pop out next to it as close as I can to it without going into the same stitch. And then I'm going to tie these two in a double knot and then I'll weave them in. So I'm just going to trim them a little bit because they're super duper long. And I go two different directions when I weave the two pieces in. So I'm going to go down kind of close to where it's tied, but not in where it's tied. I'll pop out there. This sucks the knot. This will suck the knot down inside. I'm going to go in and I'm going to pop out the front. You just pop it out if you've pulled too tight. So I'm not doing a very good job sewing this guy because I feel like his arms are sticking out too much, but once he gets his suit on, he might not be too bad, or his shorts. He's still not sitting up on his own, so I already screwed that up. I'm telling you guys, I do not sew well. So his nose can get sewn on first, and then his mouth. So far, this is what it should look like. Hopefully yours is better. Mine, I suck at sewing, but anyway. Let's get these ears done. So after I sew both my ears on, I like to kind of meet up at the back here, tie a knot with the two pieces from the ears. So just kind of put them over the eye. So let's get this tail made because there's actually a hole in the shorts that we're going to do, the overall shorts, that you can pull the tail through. So let's just do the cute little tail first because it's super duper quick. So, I'm going to take our 4mm. Let me find my tail. And your pink. You're going to make a slip knot. And you're going to chain 18. 18. So that's my 18 chains. And what you're going to do in each chain is put 2 single crochets in each one all the way back up. So there's nowhere really to fasten off, so you can just fasten off right here. So you need a sewing tail. And that's your little curlicue. These two can just get sewn or tied together. I only need to go a short distance with that because I just tied a knot with it, so. So that's your little curlicue tail. Look at every end is frayed, and I just literally cut it. So, this gets sewn on in a actual spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like between the 6th and 7th row from your magic ring. Oh yeah, I really screwed my legs up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So somewhere right about here, that's where your guy gets sewn on. So I actually didn't really sew into the guy, just kind of went in and out of that post a couple of times. Then I went into him, and that's when I just made a knot. So, yeah, I didn't, I guess I just kind of, I didn't really sew him on, I kind of attached him on. And then you can weave. Yeah, of course, I wasn't on camera for that because I zoomed in and I forgot to zoom back out. So I'm pretty sure you know how to sew on a tail or attach a tail. Alrighty, now we can get to the shorts. So, I used this Red Heart Denim Flex. That's what it's called. That's what it is. That's what I used for his shorts here. But I don't want all my pigs to be the same color since I'm going to have 2. So this is just a Red Heart Violet. I think that's what it's called. Hold on. Red Heart Comfort. And of course it doesn't have a color, but the dye lot is 3180 if you need to know. But for some reason, there's no color. But it's just a medium weight. I'm still gonna use my, I don't know what it calls for actually. It calls for a 5.5. But because this is being done in amigurumi, kind of, sort of, whatever yarn you're using, amigurumi is a smaller hook. There isn't a whole lot of slip stitching and chaining in this one, but if you do want to go up a hook size, then you're more than welcome to go up a hook size. I'm just going to keep my 4mm, but it's completely up to you because I don't know what you're using. So just so you know. So you want to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 60. So this is my 60. I'm going to zoom out just a titch. This is my 60. So we're going to be using half double crochet. So these first 2 stitches we don't want to use. So I don't want to use this, and I don't want to use that. So count those 2 loops. You're going to go into this one with a half double crochet. So you're going to do 58 half double crochets back up. So this is my 58 half double crochets. I want you to bring this around, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first chain that we did right there. Hold on, I got this on the wrong side. There we go. So come around, slip stitch to this guy. Get him behind there. I'm not holding it right. So you're going to be like, what is that nonsense all about? Don't worry, we're coming back and we're going to deal with that after. So once you've slip stitched, I want you to chain 2. So now all we're going to do for the next 3 rows is exactly what we just did. 58 half double crochets, slip stitch, chain 2. Easy peasy. Back around with my first row, and I just wanted to show you because I started in the same space that I did my chain 2. I'm on 57 stitches. This one here is my 58th stitch. In case you get confused when you come back around because of what we did there. So so that's the chain 2. You're gonna slip stitch into the top of that chain 2, into that stitch. Right there. So when you start your next row, you're going to chain 2 and start counting in that chain 2 space, because you're going to put, a half double in that chain 2 space. So that's how we're going to count. This is going to act like the hole for the tail. So this is my 3 rows. I'm just coming up to my slip stitch. So that's what you should have. So we're going to chain 2. And we're going to do 29 half double crochets. Starting in the chain 2 space. That cuts down on our seam, starting in the chain 2 space. So that's 29. So to make things sound easier, instead of skip 29, you don't really need to count all of this, but you have to make sure that you're aimed in the right direction. So after you skip 29 stitches, you're going to come around and slip stitch into your chain 2 space like you've just come back around. And then you're going to chain 2. So that's your first leg that we're starting. And then we'll come back over here and reattach after. So easy peasy, you're just going to do 29 half double crochets, slip stitch, chain 2 for the next 4 rows. So I'm done my 4 rows. I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 2, and I'm going to fasten off. So you just need enough to weave in. So now that we're done that leg, we need to come around and reattach on the other side. So go through both pieces, go through both these pieces to reattach with. And you can reattach with whatever you want to reattach with, whether it be a slip stitch or anything, just whatever you do, you're going to have to make sure you pull tight in there. So you're basically going to do the same thing. So this is what you should have when your 4th row is done. You can just fasten off, again, just with a weaving tail. So before we reattach at the top, let's weave all this stuff in. So we're going to reattach back up at the top. So I'm going to reattach right into this spot. I'm just going to do a slip stitch. Those two we're going to deal with later, so don't really worry about those. So right up at the top, we're on the other part of the chain that we initially made, so it's kind of going to be squirrely to get into at first, but so starting in the first stitch that we're in, actually chain 2 here, and go back into the same space again, we're going to do 7 half double decrease. So that's number 1 in that chain 2 space. So that's 7 half doubles, and then our decrease. So decrease and a half double is you yarn over, go into the stitch. We're not going to really be able to, I mean, because this is the other part of the chain we made. Pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then pull through 3. That's a half double decrease. We'll do it again. 7 single crochets. That's 7 single crochets, and then our decrease again is going to be to yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, the next stitch, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 3. That's how I do it. So you're just going to continue 7 single crochet, or 7 half double crochet decrease all the way around. You should be able to get this around 6 times. You're going to have extra stitches, and I would just put half double crochets in those. So I'm done my decrease sequence. I actually have 3 stitches left, not 4 stitches, but I might have missed one, I'm not sure. Or I just miscounted. So that's my 3 half double crochets. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to pop across and do my slip stitch. That chain 1 plus the space that we already had leaves the hole for your tail. So, and then I'm going to chain 2. So you should have 52 stitches. So I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 50 stitches, starting in the chain 2 space. And then when we come back around, the next round is going to be making our strap, and then we're going to be done. So that's my 51 stitches. My 52nd stitch is going to go into this chain 1 space. And then I'm going to slip stitch. So this is what you should have at this point. I'm only going to chain 1 here because we're going to be single crocheting and not half doubles anymore. So I want you to do 24 single crochets. You don't have to start in this chain 1 space. Start in the next stitch. So that's my 24th stitch. If you remembered, your leg was 29 stitches around, so you shouldn't quite be over here yet. You should be 5 stitches off. So you're going to chain 36. So that's my 36, and now you're going to add 4, but don't move your thumb off this 36th stitch. You're going to take this and go back into this 36 stitch that you made, because you're going to make a loop for your button. And then starting here, you're going to do 35 single crochets all the way back up. That makes this for your button. If your button is bigger, you're obviously going to have to do more than that. I'll show you my button here, just so you know. So that's the size of my button. To give you a perspective, I'll zoom out. So that's the size of my button. So if your button's going to be bigger than that, you're going to obviously have to do more than +4. But that's the size of my button to nicely, snugly fit around. Like, it can be undone, but it is nice and snug. So that's just what we've made right there by doing the +4 and then skipping 4 and going back into the stitch we had our thumb on. That's what it makes, and this is what it's for. So if your button's going to be bigger than that, then I would suggest doing more than a +4. So anyways, single crochet back up your little strap here. So I'm all the way back down to the bottom. I'm not going to go into this next stitch here. I'm going to skip this and go into this stitch because that will cover that. So skip one, go into the next stitch, and continue your single crochets all the way back around to where you started, which should be 27 stitches. This is my 27th stitch. So this is just where we fasten off. We're done. So let's take care of this business first. So this business here, we're just going to tie it in a double knot. And that's just so we don't have to weave in and out very far. We can just kind of tuck it away. So there's that. Yeah, your little strappy's all curly cute right now, but it'll straighten itself out. So as far as this guy goes, go through this stitch here, pop back around and go through the front loop with this stitch. That's my knot. So you're going through this stitch before the fasten off spot. Give it a good pull. It just simulates a stitch, so it looks better. And then you can weave. So all we need to do is get a button and dress our pig. So let's get our pig all dressed here. So this has to be on his bum bum. This is at the front. That's just how I designed it. And then this, I just pop around. And this goes down like this. So you can put it anywhere you want. You can put it here, here. I'm just going to put my button over here, I think. So, instead of using yarn, or thread, I'm just going to take my yarn because it matches my shorts. And if it's not worsted, you can just pull it apart. And you can make a thinner piece of thread. I'm going to use a pink button because he's pink and I think that's super duper cute. I'm glad I found the pink button. Anyway, you can put this button wherever you want. So this little hole that we did, I mean, it stretches pretty good. So to keep it nice and tight, it'll loosen up after, but I made mine really tight on my other one as well, but I managed to stretch it. The only reason being is because, oh, I'm struggling with this guy. The reason being is so that kids don't constantly take this on and off, right? So I made mine super duper tight, and I made this guy super duper tight too, but I've undone him a couple of times now, so it does stretch out like I showed you. So I'm gonna maybe pull his tail a little bit better. There. I haven't done his nostrils yet. So the only last thing that we need to do now that he's all done is I'm just going to take some brown because it matches his hands. I'm just going to take a little bit. And for his nostrils, you don't have to do this. Like, you can leave your pig's nose just like this if you want, but I gave him some little nostrils, so I just came up and then went down, came up over here, went down and out. So that's all I did for his nostrils. So I didn't really worry about tying a knot or weaving this in or anything like that. So that's what I did for his nostrils. Oh, mine aren't even straight. Anyway, that's my pig. Grab my other guy. And my two pigs. My two little piggies. I think they're absolutely cute. I'm not sure I like my ears on this guy. I like how I sewed them on over here. They look better, but anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.